I built my first PC for 2,800 euros, and yeah, I probably should have built this PC back in November 2025. If you know, you know. But on the other hand, just look at this. Tell me it wasn't worth it. To be honest, the journey to this build was a bit more dramatic than I thought it would be. So let's rewind to the very beginning. For some reason, that day I decided to check RAM prices after hearing like a million times that they were about to triple. And after the mini heart attack I had when I saw the prices, I realized I needed to build the PC right now. So within 4 days, I ordered all the parts. 2 days after my first order, 3 packages showed up: the case, the GPU, and the CPU. I knew from the start that I wanted a fish tank style case. Not just a PC, something that actually sets the vibe. I spent way too long choosing between these two cases, but I ended up going with the Montech King 95 Pro, and the case is not only gorgeous, it's also heavy. I got the version with a pre-installed RGB fans, and the price was 149 euros. Inside the box, you get a mesh front panel, a fan mounting bracket for extra cooling, the manual, and a whole bunch of screws. You've probably heard that the most expensive part of a PC build is supposed to be the graphic card. Not anymore. I'll complain about the RAM later, but for now, let's look at the GPU. Of course, it's white, and look how pretty it is. Compared to a lot of other GPUs, even with 3 fans, it's surprisingly compact and lightweight. The price was 645 euros. Next, the CPU. Ryzen 9 9950X. I figured if I'm getting a CPU, I might as well get one that'll last me 100 years. A week later, another package arrived. For a CPU this powerful, I obviously went with a liquid cooler. Unfortunately, the pump doesn't have a screen, so no Q gifts. But the fan have RGB, and the pump itself has static lighting, so it still looks great. Deciding on an SSD didn't take long. I just bought something reliable and well tested. The power supply is a white Seasonic Core 850 watts with some extra headroom. They even included a travel adapter as a little bonus. It's a nice touch. And finally, the most important package. This one took the longest to arrive because I ordered these 2 parts from the US. The longest awaited 64GB of Kingston Fury RAM. And we'll talk about the price very soon. And this beautiful white motherboard. I'll admit it, I choose it not just for specs, but for the looks. Sometimes you know you're overpaying, but aesthetics win. Installing the CPU seems easy, but this is exactly where people mess up the most. Just match the little triangle on the CPU with the one on the motherboard. And yes, my hands were shaking, but not because I was scared to break anything. It's because the latch is ridiculously tight. And now, the main character of this entire build and the source of most of my problems, the RAM. This thing had me scouring the internet half the night hunting for a decent price. I needed 232GB sticks with this exact specs, and on most websites the price was around 900 euros, which is insane. After endless searching, I found a white kit with RGB for 790 euros, but I thought no, I can do better, and I did. On Amazon US, $620, about 680 euros with taxes, so I ordered it immediately. Sure, the sticks aren't white, but they won't ruin the aesthetics inside the case. The funniest part, the next day I checked the listing again and it was gone, so I probably grabbed one of the last kits at that price. And now, if you visit the same seller's page, the 64GB kit is over 1000 euros. That was AI is doing to the RAM market. Terrifying. Installing the SSD was probably the easiest step. Just don't forget to peel off all the protective film. Trust me, you don't wanna skip that. No screws needed. Press it down and that's it. This motherboard is so well designed that the whole mechanism works on clips and latches. Now I'm attaching the mounting brackets for the AIO. At this point I still don't realize that I didn't read the instruction carefully enough and that I'll have to redo this later. I removed the top panel and the glass from the case and then unscrew the back panel to make cable management easier. The motherboard fits the case perfectly. And here's a small tip: whenever you're using a screwdriver, don't fully touch tighten the screws from the start. Lightly secure them one by one and only then tighten everything evenly. Time to plug in the cables. And of course, nothing ever goes right on the first try. I have a rule: if something doesn't sit properly after a few attempts, leave it alone, do something else and come back later. For some magical reason, it always slides right in perfectly the second time. Much better than breaking it by forcing it. And that's when the first problems showed up. The AIO fit the case perfectly, but two cables on the motherboard were blocking it from sitting in place. I had to push those cables pretty hard while screwing the cooler in and just hope I didn't break anything. And here I'm fixing my first mistake. I tightened the thumb screws way too early, but honestly, that's nothing compared to the cable squishing situation from a minute ago. By the way, I've seen so many different opinions about how much thermal paste you're supposed to use. A lot, a tiny bit. I went with something in between. There were more important things to worry about, like whether the PC would even turn on. Only the GPU left. It's slotted in perfectly. It's so lightweight that two screws are more than enough to keep it from sagging. Alright, moment of truth. The motherboard RGB turned on. Good sign. 3, 2, 1, and... this is the moment I realized something went wrong. Everything turned on except the fans. I had a tiny internal panic, but after digging through the cables, I realized I simply forgot to plug them in. And on the second try, success. This is the final result. Honestly, it turned out stunning. It glows, it spins, straight out of Pinterest. Now let's talk numbers. The total cost of the build came to 2,837 euros. Was it worth it? Absolutely. If you want to see a full tour of my entire setup, let me know in the comments. Thanks for joining me for this build. Don't forget to like the video. Bye!